My name is Luke Chaplin. I'm from northwest Queensland, a town called Cloncurry, and I grew up there on a property about half an hour north of there. I'm the founder of Sky Kelpie. Sky Kelpie is in the business of mustering livestock with drones. So we're reasonably new. We did some trials with Meat Livestock Australia and the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. And proved, does this work? We had a lot of success in those trials, and now we're starting to develop some training tools that'll help graziers and farmers fly the drones themselves.
Bill Mitchell's my name. I'm actually a beef producer from northern New South Wales, and we have a farm where we produce cattle for Coles supermarkets, and as part of that business, we developed a product called OptiWeigh, and I'm also the founder of that and do that as well these days. OptiWeigh is a automatic system for weighing cattle. You plop it in the paddock and the cattle weigh themselves, and the information comes back to you on your phone or computer.
My name's John McGurran. I'm a project manager with Meat Livestock Australia. Meat Livestock Australia is the research and development and marketing company for red meat producers in Australia, which includes cattle, sheep and lamb and goat. My job with MLA, I work within the digital agriculture program. So that program is focused on how do we use new technologies and tools to help our farmers produce their livestock sustainably and efficiently and profitably. So that's what we're focused on here at MLA, is making a red meat industry that meets the needs of red meat consumers and customers, and does that in a way that that is sustainable, so that we can keep doing it forever into the future.
My pathway has been probably a different, some might say random pathway to where I am now. But what I would say, and what a family friend said to me once, is, always be doing something because it leads somewhere. The things I'm doing at the moment, that's pretty much what's happened. So I left school. I did, and just on top of that, my parents were always encouraging of doing what you're interested in and what makes you happy. Because if you do something that you're passionate about, you're going to become good at it and you're going to succeed. So that's what I would encourage people to do. But I left school. I did a gap year in England. The boarding school I went to in Brisbane had a relationship with a school over there. And then when I came back, I went and did 2 years, jackarooing, you might say, on a large property in northwest Queensland. It was only a couple of hours from actually my home property, but it was a larger property, and it was probably, one of my favorite mentors I've ever had. Was the manager there, and was very good at, spending time with young people, and teaching them about, cattle work and also horsemanship as well. And then I actually became quite involved in rodeo riding. And so I traveled all over Australia and went to Canada as well. So I ended up being the saddle bronc rookie Australian champion, and Canadian champion as well. I was also the Open Australian champion in the National Rodeo Council. Anyway, I did a few rodeos and won a few things, which was great. You probably don't make millions of dollars doing that, but it taught me about discipline, about sacrifice, and really working towards something that you're passionate about. I then, in my mid-20s, studied at Marcus Oldham College and studied agribusiness there. And after finishing that, I went up home to Cloncurry. I was working on the family property there. And then I was also doing a little bit of work at the local council. I was doing a little bit of economic development stuff. And something random that popped up then was the producers of the television show Survivor called up, and they said, oh, we'd like to do an outback Survivor because we can't go anywhere outside of Australia because it's COVID. So I said, well, you're coming up here then. So that was really interesting. I jumped on the crew there, and I'd done a little bit of film and TV work in my 20s already, but that was a huge success. And I went to the council. I said, well, that was really great. It brought about $6 million to our economy. I'd like to do a little film project of my own. So my sister and I last year wrote a short film about a true story about a bank robbery that happened in Cloncurry in the 30s. It's alleged that some of my family members were some of the robbers, but anyway. And we filmed that, and it's doing the film festival circuit at the moment. We actually played in New York a few weeks ago, and it's doing quite well. But I keep skipping around because I started Sky Kelpie about 2 years ago, and with the support of Meat and Livestock Australia and the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, we did some pretty revolutionary trials and proved that drone mustering is a viable application, So basically, that's what I'm up to at the moment. I'm the founder of Sky Kelpie. We're developing some training tools to really enable graziers to fly the drones themselves. And I'm also pursuing a bit of a career in film production with quite a passion for telling outback stories. So here you go.
So I went to school in Armidale, and then I went off to university in Sydney, and I studied a rural science degree called Wool and Pastoral Science. I went and worked in the wool trade as a wool broker and wool exporter. And then I went back to the family farm and worked on the family farm, and we sold some bits of it and bought some more and grew the family farm and had a great time doing that and raised our kids there. And then and we're still there, but now we have WA as well because we invented it at home, and we decided that it benefited us so much. We'd like to see if we could make it available for other people as well.
I've been around for a while. So if I go back way back to when I left school, I just kind of left school and got a job. I actually worked in the building industry for a few years. Then I decided that I had a natural interest in science. So I went and did an undergraduate degree in science, which was in natural resource management, which basically looked at both terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem, how they work, how to manage natural resources. From that, when I left uni, the aquaculture industry, so growing seafood, was a new industry emerging in Australia. So I worked in the commercial aquaculture industry for a few years, basically in prawn and oyster production. And then I had a research career following that for about 15 years, where I worked on developing breeding technologies for fish and prawns and crabs, which I enjoyed and was a great part of my life. At some point, I kind of moved on from that. I did a bit of work in education and training. So I worked with the Charles Darwin University in Darwin, where I lectured in aquaculture. So taught other people how to grow prawns, fish, and crabs, and those type of things that I'd learned how to do over the years. And then around about maybe 15 years or so ago, I got involved in the red meat industry. So my first job with the red meat industry, working for an organisation very similar to Meat and Livestock Australia. It's actually the Australian Meat Processor Corporation, and it's the research and development and marketing body for the processing sector. So all of the red meat abattoirs around Australia. So I had about 10 years there, and I was running the research and development program for processing technologies, which was a really fascinating area to work with. In that job, I worked quite closely with Meat and Livestock Australia because the two organisations both work in the red meat sector. So we were working together to produce a lot of automation technologies to automate the processing of red meat, which has been incredibly successful and a really satisfying thing to be part of. And then about 5 years ago, I jumped across to Meat and Livestock Australia, and that's kind of where I've ended up now. So I've had a kind of a mixture of seafood and red meat throughout my working life.
Yeah, so in terms of creating Optiway, it was really just a case of playing around at home, getting on the welder and welding stuff up and seeing if it worked, and just lots of a crazy idea that it might work, and then a little bit of stubbornness and a time on the welder and time on the computer analyzing data, and it just evolved from there. And we made one, and we talked to some friends about it, and they said, "Oh, I'd love one of those." So we got a company, a proper company to weld it up nicely, and we sold one, and then we used the money from that one to make another one and sold it and went from there.
So drones, they're also referred to as unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. There's all sorts of names for them. I just call them drones. And they've had a real rise in agriculture. Probably the biggest adoption has been for in agronomy, for detecting weeds, mapping, cropping paddocks, and spraying herbicide as well as fertilizer and whatnot. What I'm specializing in, and something that I'm trying to cut through as a bit of a novel solution, is the locating and herding of livestock with drones. So traditionally in Australia, we use people on horses, motorbikes, and also helicopters as well. Helicopters became prominent after the Vietnam War, when we had a lot of skilled pilots come back. And so around the 70s, we saw the birth of helicopter mustering. And the beauty of helicopter mustering is you get an aerial view of the paddocks, and it's extremely efficient and actually revolutionized the livestock industry in Australia. That's a proven solution that really works. However, it's quite expensive and it can be quite dangerous. So drones, and we proved with some of our trials, can actually do the same job of a helicopter, at times better, for a lot cheaper, doing it a lot cheaper and a lot safer.
I think it's what I'm doing right now, to be honest. It's incredibly exciting to see the number of new technologies and digital-based technologies that are coming through. I mean, people often say the 21st century. If the 20th century was all about industrialization and oil, the 21st century is all about data. So increasingly, we're seeing lots of new and innovative ways to collect and use data and to share information. In the red meat industry, we talk about our supply chains and our value chains. So we have the producers at one end of the supply and value chain who are producing the cattle and the sheep and the goats, and then all the way through that value chain, we have the processing sector that's creating the red meat products that we all love and that we export all over the world. And then we have the markets that we need to maintain access to, and then the consumers or the customers at the end of that value chain, who really are the ones, at the end of the day, they're the ones whose needs we have to meet. So as markets and customers and consumers increasingly are looking for agriculture industries around the world to demonstrate that they're sustainable, that they care about the welfare of their animals, that they look after their animals, that they use resources responsibly, and they provide products that are ethically produced and sustainably produced. Data and technology has a really key role to play in terms of enabling that to happen, so that we have the information we need in the production system, so back at the farmer level, to actually understand, what is the best way and the most sustainable way to work. But we also, in using technology, we collect a lot of data and information about that. Now, that data and information then gets passed up and down those supply and value. That data is really important to all of those people along that supply and value chain. So, the processes we know that the farmers, are producing sustainable products in the most sustainable way, and of course, consumers then want to know that that they're being processed, efficiently and responsibly, and to a high quality and a high standard, and maintaining a high quality and standard. And then the customer is increasingly wanting to see evidence that all those things are happening. So the technology enables all of those parts of the value chain to operate efficiently and sustainably, but it also provides data and information that consumers can rely on, so they can have confidence in the meat products that they're buying.
A career in agriculture can be very diverse. So I guess sometimes when you think about agriculture, you just think about farmer on the land. But there's so many different, areas through the supply chain, which are really great opportunities. And what we know about agriculture is it's here to stay. We look, by 2050, we're going to have around 10 billion people in the world. That's a lot of mouths to feed. And Australia's going to have a huge role in that. We have a really great clean green reputation. I've just traveled around the world on a Nuffield scholarship, exploring other countries, what they do. And I tell you what, Australia sits right up the top there. So, from school-based programs to our university, our tertiary education in Australia, to the industry in general, it's a really great place to be. And I say to people, if you do happen to end up, working and living out on the land, you really feel like you're part of that, that core of Australia that a lot of poets have written about, and it's an amazing feeling. So I really encourage you to at least travel, if not possibly work in outback Australia.
Agriculture is so great because it's real. You're producing food for people. Like, you're really essential. You're not just shuffling money. And the beauty of it is that you're not sitting behind a computer all day worrying about the 150 emails that you haven't attended to. You're out in the sunshine and the weather. And what's going to happen, and why I'm really excited about agriculture as a career for the generation that's coming through now, is because it's no longer about digging post holes. And when I was at school, agriculture was just plain hard work. It was digging post holes and walking up and down hills, bashing fence posts in and shearing sheep. And what's happening is a lot of those things are getting automated. And with the technology, it's just going to be it's changed so much in the last 30 years. And we've only just started on this technology journey of what it can do to help agriculture become more efficient and a great place to work.
Agriculture is a really exciting industry for anyone to be involved in. If you're in agriculture, you're working with natural systems and renewable resources, and working with those to manage them in sustainable ways, to provide food and fibre, which we all need to survive. It's a really important industry for Australia, particularly regional Australia. So you get to live in some pretty amazing parts of Australia, and it's full of really nice, wonderful people. So you get to work with good people as well. The other thing with agriculture is it's a very large industry. It's an extremely important industry to Australia and globally. So it covers on all types of work disciplines. So whether it's engineering, marketing, business, technology, farming itself, agronomy, just about any career that you can think of, you'll find a spot for that career in agriculture. So it's an extremely important industry. It's a very exciting industry. It's going through a very exciting phase at the moment, with lots of new technologies being developed and adopted to make farming easier, more efficient, more sustainable. And so I think it's a great industry to work in. And I'd really recommend that anyone who has any interest in it at all, to find out more about it. And you're always welcome to come and talk to us at Meat Livestock Australia, because that's one thing that we're very keen on, is getting people into our industry. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
If you're interested in a career in agriculture, I'd start by getting out after school and going and working on a farm. There's lots of farm jobs available. Some of the corporate companies right around Australia are terrific to work for now. There's some brilliant family companies. Get out onto a farm and experience life there, then go and do some further studies in agriculture if you enjoy the farm life. But go and experience it first, and then if you enjoy it, make sure you take on a bit further education in it, because there's just so many terrific jobs coming up in agriculture, and we need lots more young people.
My advice would be, talk to some people who are working in the industry. As I was saying before, it's a very diverse industry. It's a very large and important industry, so it covers lots of different roles and disciplines. But I think, talk to some farmers. Talk to some livestock agents, cattle and sheep and goat buyers and sellers, just find out a bit more about the industry and the different career opportunities that it offers. And definitely come and talk to us at Meat Livestock Australia, because as I was saying before, that's something we're really focused on. It is helping people to understand just how exciting our industry is, and the very many different opportunities that it offers. And then we have a number of ways that we can kind of help people to learn more about the industry, get involved in the industry, get some experience in the industry, then that they can take those opportunities and as they come along.